When we were safely contained on our cradle world, most of the species of the galaxy found us to be a rare, curious animal. One that seemed to have no goal, no purpose, other than to consume. They looked at us as we look at viruses. Adaptable, but with a brief and futile life spent only in the quest to consume. Even when we broke free of our planet's gravity, they did not deem us worthy of worry. They forgot, however, to look at our progression through technology. Yes, it took us much longer than it should have to figure out that farming was a good idea. Of course, we could have mastered electricity faster. But by the time we got around to colonizing Luna, we were more or less on course. Then Mars came next, and then the rest of our solar system. By the time we achieved FTL travel, we were actually ahead of schedule, and the galaxy started to worry. Their fears were, however, unnecessary. Truth be told, as humans we were tired of war, and fighting our neighbours immediately after moving in seemed like poor form, so we didn't do it. We were also, perhaps, the most persistent group in the galaxy. When we moved into a system and began to look for resources, we first started mining the asteroids like everyone else. By the end of the decade, one miner had a great idea, and a year later we had melted all the asteroids and formed them together into a large molten planet, and we mined that. It was much easier and faster, and it was the point where the rest of the galaxy realized that we did consume, but we were also very ingenious about it. In all this time, we more or less neglected military technology. Our weapons were some of the best in the galaxy because we had fought more in our history than anyone else, so we didn't really advance much. About 150 years after we started mining the Riksha system, we stumbled onto a planet not unlike Earth. We set about colonizing it, and cities blossomed across the surface. But then one day a surveyor team went missing, underground, in a remote part of the planet. They had not sent out a distress call, nor was anyone able to establish contact. They just vanished. A lightly armed response team was sent after them, and what that team found would change the way the galaxy looked at humanity. The creature can only be described as a parasite. It infected living tissue and mutated it. Dead tissue bodies were brought into larger piles, where the parasite would consume the cells and absorb them all. At first, the teams we sent down to exterminate the creature were enough. Firearms and harsuits provided enough protection, but the parasite adapted, much like we had, and it grew stronger, and we soon realized just how deep it went. After a few months, the heaviest weapons and armor that men could carry were barely enough to keep the parasite at bay. It emerged from tunnels and attacked civilians. The planet was under siege, and the front line was the surface. All of it. The whole planet was a battlefield. Nowhere was safe, but this planet was home to billions of souls, and we would be damned if we gave it up. So we set about improving our weapons and resurrecting old technologies. We re-examined biological and chemical warfare for the first time in centuries, and we were the first to do it after leaving the cradle. We used alkali metals in bullets to cause permanent damage to the creatures we couldn't kill outright. Over time, this war, the Nightshade War as we came to call it, consumed the system and captured the imaginations of generations of young men who wanted to go off and fight. Humanity developed a warrior subculture again, and it was brutal. With weapons of terrible power being designed every month, the war escalated in ferocity until a path to layers of the planet below the parasite were found. Using these, our forces were able to get onto the parasite in areas and burn or poison it from the root. Soon, the war swung in our favour, and for a few more decades the fightings continued, underground, while the surface was rebuilt. Soon after the surface was restored, the parasite had been eradicated, but at a terrible cost. Undaunted, we looked at the damage we had done to the planet. No clean water or air, as both had been polluted with chemicals to kill the parasite or the smoke from burning its layers. We set about constructing massive ships that would sail the rivers and oceans of the planet, drawing in massive amounts of water through a filter to remove the chemicals. Giant complexes on the land and the plains were built to pull in air and purify it. Within a generation, the planet that the galaxy thought we had killed was once more capable of harboring trees and wildlife. But it was during that terraforming process that one species made a horrible mistake. They dared to attack a human settlement on the outskirts of the system, and they occupied that remote planet. Our response was swift, decisive, and without mercy as human troops descended on the planet and killed the invaders. A 300-year war against an unforgiving parasite had made us a martial culture again. When this other species foolishly demanded to be compensated for the loss of their troops and ships, they couldn't know the cruelty humanity was capable of. 1 month after the incident, the aliens lost contact with a small mining operation on a large asteroid in our home system. When the disturbance was investigated, a human ship was found crashed into the facility, and the facility had been infected by the parasite that we had loaded onto the craft. Within days, a human ship appeared and vaporized the whole asteroid in the name of containment. Since then, there has been peace in the galaxy. No one dares to even tempt humanity to enter a conflict with anyone.